Welcome to 11 Warriors Film Study. I'm Kyle Jones. Today we are going to talk about the final game of the 2024-25 college football season. Of course, that saw Ohio State come away national champions, 34-23 victory over Notre Dame down in Atlanta in the CFP finale, capping an incredible run for the Buckeyes, really turning their season around. A lot of parts in this story when you look back at this season. And ironically, I felt like this game was the same way, right? You had Notre Dame starting off with a long 10-minute drive, 18 plays, really putting everything they had, running the ball 9 times with Riley Leonard, but Ohio State responding, looking like they were going to run away with this for much of the middle of the game, the second and third quarters. But credit to Marcus Freeman's squad, not just giving great effort for 4 quarters, but actually having schematic answers, which is really what we're going to focus on. Now, credit to Mike Denbrock, the Irish offensive coordinator, for having enough counters and enough in the tank just to keep things interesting. Found some answers against a very good Buckeye defense that also had a good plan. I think it'd be very easy just to squirrel this game away as just saying Ohio State was the more talented team. I think they were. But, this game was not just a runaway blowout like some of the other games we've seen from the Buckeyes this season. A lot of schematic matchups worth exploring, which is what we're going to get into. So thanks for watching all season long. We've got one last one to go through, so let's have some fun. All right, I want to start with the first drive. We're talking about the Ohio State defense. Now, there are obviously so many plays from which to choose on that opening drive from the Irish, but I picked this one because I thought it was very emblematic of what Ohio State was trying to do from a game planning perspective early on. Now, we can see that Riley Leonard scrambles around. It's a pass play that he's able to find the tight end over the middle. But it's really great from my perspective because it shows that what Ohio State's trying to do, one, they're playing a lot of zone defense, as we've seen, right? You're going to see cover 3. We've got our downs in center field. Igbinosun and Burke are dropping. We've got, Hancock out in the flat. We got Cody Simon out here. We've got Ransom coming on a 3 buzz. But what I wanted to show and highlight, because we saw this throughout the game regardless of the actual coverage, you got Jack Sawyer dropping into coverage in the boundary here. And that was pretty consistent, something that we saw throughout the game. It was actually something that we saw Penn State doing, which is we're going to send a blitzer. And they sent a 4th rusher. It's a simulated pressure where they're going to send maybe, in this case at least, it's Sonny Styles on a blitz right up the middle, right? You're going to see him, and this is really a run blitz to take away the interior run, and then you're going to get the defensive end's going to drop out here. Now, Leonard does a nice job on this play of buying time. Ohio State's in zone. We've got eyes on him. He's already run the ball a bunch, right? So there's guys that are just really concerned more with his ability to run the ball. They're doing a good job of kind of hemming him in, keeping him from getting all the way outside here. There's 3 guys that can come in to make a play. But Leonard, keeps the play alive, finds his tight end over the middle, and keeps it going. Now, ultimately, this is a good view here from the sideline, the end zone, because you can see Styles is going to come right through this A gap. And the goal, they want to erase these interior gaps, right? And what we're going to see is essentially it's creating like a bear front where you're going to have 1, 2, 3 occupying the center and both guards. Now, that would come back. It looked like that might be a good game plan, but I want to show here what Ohio State was actually trying to do throughout this game. All right, now the reason that we saw this game plan a lot from Ohio State was we knew coming in that the running backs, Jeremiah Love in particular, but really they had 3 backs that had been making big plays throughout the playoff, really got shut down throughout this entire game. And this is a great example of why. Now, this is a very similar, almost identical concept. It's a cover 3, right? You see Ransom dropping. We got dropping, Hancock out to the field. And if we look in the end zone view, what you're going to see is Sonny Styles, once again, he's going to come. This time he's to the boundary. But we're still going to get Jack Sawyer kind of dropping off. And it's going to be only a 4-man pressure, right? Now, it's a little bit harder to tell because it's a run play, but you can see Sawyer's really not playing this aggressively, right? He's not trying to rush up field. He's not trying to cross the face and get in the B gap there. Sawyer's really kind of waiting and waiting to see what happens. And the reason for this is because he is the quarterback player. He wants to make sure that if Riley Leonard pulls his ball around side on a zone read, he's there to make the play. The good news, though, is that it also creates, again, this 3-man front, right? You're occupying Ty Hamilton against the center and guard. This time, Tyleek kind of spins outside, to let Sawyer come free. We've got Styles who's going to come into the A gap, and that's going to free up Cody Simon to be right where the ball carrier is going here, right? So occupying, again, guard, or both guards in the center. We've got the running backs going to pop out here right into Cody Simon's waiting arms. This was the game plan from day one going into how to stop Notre Dame. The running backs for Notre Dame really had no impact on this game, which played a huge factor in Ohio State's favor. Now, of course, the story from this game from a Notre Dame offensive perspective was really unleashing Riley Leonard in the designed quarterback run game. Now, while he had a ton of carries, he really wasn't able to pop anything big here. And this strategy from Ohio State was a big reason why. Now, in this instance, the blitzer, the fourth pressure, is going to come off the edge from Jordan Hancock. He's blitzing off the edge here. And we're going to see JT Tuimoloau out. He's this time going to drop a little bit. Again, we see these slants. And that's going to create our normal four-man pressure. This time, of course, with the DN dropping. Watch from the end zone view here. You can see what's happening on this play, right? And why it was so effective. Now, again, Penn State did this with great success, although certainly Notre Dame did not unleash the quarterback run quite the same way. But you saw Abdul Carter in a similar role, kind of dropping back. We talked about it in the preview if you watched, but you're going to see Tyleik Williams kind of go outside. Almost, it's what we'd call almost like a scrape exchange, where the tackle is really scraping over. Or he's coming into the gap that you would expect the end to have, and the DN scraping over the top. We're going to see, again, Ty Hamilton's going to come through here in the A gap, right? He's trying to come over. Yes, we get the pulling guard. We get the lead from the running back, and then you're going to see Riley Leonard follow suit, right? It's a well-blocked play. Notre Dame's offensive line played very well. They had a good plan. And you can see from what it looks like right now, everything's getting washed inside. They're doing a good job of holding it. Tyleik's getting washed outside. And then you can see the two linebackers, right? But luckily for Notre Dame, at least what they think, okay, we've got one guy here, got one guy here. That should allow this gap for Riley Leonard. And instead, what you're getting is as Leonard's looking at this gap, he does not realize that JT Tuimoloau is unblocked. And that's the entire point of this entire look, is you want to create a free unblocked player who's not accounted for in the blocking scheme and ready. You can see this right tackle 59. He's not even looking for Tuimoloau. He doesn't expect JT to be here right over the top, but sure enough, there he is. Now, Leonard did a good job of turning plays like this into 4 and 5 instead of 2 and 3, and that kept them ahead of the chains, especially early on. But he wasn't able to get any big gains, make any big chunks out of it, and had to earn every single run. Every time he kept the ball, he had to earn it. All right, now you have to give a lot of credit to Mike Denbrock, the offensive coordinator, as we mentioned in the open here. Really came in with a great game plan and knew when to dial things up and dial up the counters, literally and figuratively, the constraint plays that would keep Ohio State on their heels. This was the 2-point conversion. The first one that they were able to convert, both calls for 2 points were good. Obviously, the second was a halfback pass. But this one I thought was great because as the play we just saw was QB counter, right? It was Riley Leonard behind a pulling guard and his halfback leading him. And they waited until just the right moment to unleash this little shovel pass that's built off the same action. Ohio State thinks it's the same thing. What they're going to create is a 5-man, really a 5-man gap here where you're going to get, there isn't somebody, neither of the ends is dropping here. It's not like what we've seen the last couple plays. What you're going to get is Cody Simon coming around the edge, and that's who's he's expecting to have Riley Leonard, and it looks like he's gonna, right? You're going to see this tight end's going to clear Lathan Ransom out of here, right? As the ball is snapped, what do you see? You see a pulling guard, right? You see the halfback who's going to lead him around. Everybody on the line's washing down. This looks like Riley Leonard's going to try to run right here. And so Cody Simon, who's seen this already a number of times in the game, what is he doing? He's screaming off the edge. I'm going to try to get there. I'm going to beat this blocker here. Jack Sawyer goes and engages the pulling guard, thinks, okay, this is counter. I got to blow it up. And then he sees, oh, wait, Riley Leonard's scooting outside. We've got to get width now. We can't let him just run around the edge. You even get Styles who's going this way as he flows, right? It looks like Riley Leonard's just kind of going off script. And sure enough, that's all by design. We're getting, the right side's Washington. The left side, they're creating this nice gap for Jeremiah Love to catch the pitch and go right in the end zone off the shovel. So credit where credit is due. Mike Denbrock came in with a great plan. Notre Dame largely, I think, had a really good plan in this game offensively. Weren't always able to execute, especially in kind of that second, early third quarter period, but they were able to make some adjustments as the game went on, as we'll show here in a second. All right, so this is a big third down conversion as Notre Dame's coming back in the game. We're going to see Greathouse as number 3 in the slot. He's going to catch this big, deep seam route over Cody Simon, reminiscent of Alabama 2020 with star receiver making a play running down the seam as the number 3 receiver against Ohio State's middle linebacker. But there's a lot of homework that I think Mike Denbrock did, and they got a little bit lucky in the call Ohio State was in. We're going to see motion from the receiver here. No one's going to follow. You're not going to see Igbinosun run across, so that's a signal, one, to Riley Leonard that it's zone. But the way that they're lined up here, with Sonny Styles all the way outside the linebacker, that's a signal they're sending pressure. We're actually going to get Igbinosun coming on a pressure as well. So it's going to be a 5-man pressure, overloading what is the left side of the offensive line here. It's a 2-steal is the concept. And what that means is we're going to be playing 2 deep coverage, right? You're going to see Caleb Downs bail all the way out. And then we've got these 4 guys underneath, right? You're going to play 2 deep, 4 under with 5 rushers coming. Now what happens at the snap, though, is as Downs starts to drop, you see in this side, it's a pretty simple cover 2. And again, because it's based off of a Tampa 2 look, the number 3 receiver, the linebacker, whoever's in the middle, like that old Brian Urlacher pull runner, he's got to run with him. But what he's expecting, if he's going to run this way, he's expecting this safety to be there. But it's great play design because you're going to get the tight end, Mitchell Evans, running a crossing route. Everybody else is clearing out. So Caleb Downs, being the instinctive football player he is, and this is baked into the rules of the concept, he's actually going to drop down and cut the crosser. But what happens in that situation is you need Lathan Ransom to replace Downs as the deep half. There's nobody else really over here that's a threat for Ransom. So he's got to get depth. But he kind of stutters for 1 second. He kind of reads. He's not sure what to do. If he doesn't know if the back's going to release on something. He doesn't really feel that this is coming behind him. And that's just enough time for Greathouse to get over the top. As the ball is thrown, Ransom's not there to help make a play. Again, just a great throw from Leonard under pressure. Got to give him credit there. But these are the types of plays that, well-designed concepts, kind of caught Ohio State in some tough positions. But credit to Denbrock and the Irish for doing so. All right, the last play we're going to show, slot fade to Jaden Greathouse. It's a really nice throw from Riley Leonard. Steps into it. This was really kind of the heart of the Irish passing game all year, was getting into these slot fades and letting Leonard show off that arm. He's a big guy. I don't think he's credited as a passer for reasons that I think he showed a little bit in the first half, missing some open guys, especially against zone looks. But as the game went on, he was able to buy time, get outside the pocket, and avoid the rush. We saw just on the play before beating the zone coverage when Ohio State's in 2-steal. And so as the game went along, Ohio State was struggling to get pressure consistently, but they're in a 3rd and long in this play. And they're going to send Cody Simon on a blitz to create 5 rushers. And all you're going to have is man coverage. It's man free with Lathan Ransom playing center field. Now, we've got trips to the field side, right? When we're going to see what's going to happen here, it's just a simple, it's a variation of a stick route where we got a hitch here, a stick. He can kind of fade out here depending on the coverage. And this is just a straight fade route, right? We're going to see it over Hancock. And that's leaving Hancock one-on-one with the guy who has really turned into Notre Dame's best receiver, certainly over the last month in this playoff run. Makes a great play. Hancock's got to hold on for dear life. But the safety, this is a great job, again, of Denbrock using formation. I think normally if this was a 2-by-2 with a receiver over here, you'd see Lathan Ransom down here against maybe a tight end, and then you'd have Caleb Downs in the middle of the field able to kind of get over. But instead, Downs is pressed up here on the tight end, and we've got Ransom he's not trying to give up the coverage right away by just sitting in the middle of the field. He's going to kind of stagger over, and then he's got to drop to the middle. So he's in no position. He's got to come, when the ball is thrown, he's got to come all the way for the far hash. So free safety's out of commission. The corner, of course, is pressed up on this little hitch route, and that creates all this space for Riley Leonard to throw the football. He can work and throw the ball all the way between essentially the hash and the sideline, and he's got all this room to work with. There's nobody else open, really. If you look at this snapshot here, Ohio State's done a really great job of blanketing it. But again, credit to Notre Dame's players, a credit to the talent there of Leonard and Greathouse, able to make a play here, against the guy who's probably, the least regarded of Ohio State's 5 starting DBs, getting the matchup they want, and then hitting on a big play that ultimately would keep this game competitive going into the 4th quarter. So credit to the Irish offense. Great game plan. Struggled executionally at times throughout this game. Again, we can see here the offensive line actually did a great job on this play, but they did a pretty good job throughout the night of keeping Leonard upright. So you got to give your hats off to the Irish offense, at least in some capacity. All right, let's talk about the run game. You can see Brandon Ennis coming in motion here. He's going to be one of the players to watch on this play as we're looking at Trevion Henderson taking a handoff and cutting back to the right side. Makes the guy miss in the open field. Gets a big gain. This is on Ohio State's first drive that they responded to the long Irish drive for a touchdown of their own. But I want you to watch Ennis here. You're going to see him come into motion, and it's essentially going to create a two tight end set here because you've got Will Karras-Merrick here on the left side, and then you have Ennis. And really what we're going to see is what we call like a split flow, a slice, if you will. Now, you've seen Ohio State run split zone a zillion times over the years. That's where everybody's going this way, right? Very simply. And then you're going to have what's typically a tight end come across to really seal this backside end here, right? And that typically creates like a cutback lane for the back. He's able to just cut right through here, right? Now, what Ohio State's doing is they're using their receiver in this way. So this is Brandon Ennis. He's going to come across the formation, and he's really just running around the outside. And the reason he's going to do that is we're going to see from this view. I want you to watch the safety here because you've got split safeties, and as he comes across, they're in a version of they're not playing man coverage yet. But what you're going to see is he's going to respond and race down from his safety position as the ball is snapped, right? You're going to see number 8 here. He's not paying attention to the ball carrier. He's so much more worried about Ennis that as he comes down, he is not in position to make a play on the ball carrier, right? Like you can actually see him, has got to turn all the way around here. Watch him one more time. Whoop, not there at all, right? And that's because he's watching Brandon Ennis. It's there to create, to remove a defender. We saw Louisville do this again. If you watched our preview of the Irish offense, you were going to see that. Now, this is a designed cutback. Again, we're seeing the offensive line. They're all going to push right. It's kind of a version of duo or a tight zone. But the ball's meant to hit right here. You're going to see Trevion Henderson take that step to his right and then cut up here, right? But as soon as he does, he sees the gap forming. Great work. Montgomery, shoves the blitzing linebacker all the way inside. Hinsman's able to get up to the other linebacker. Jackson cuts off the edge here, right? Does a nice job inside the defensive tackle. And now you can see your safety, who should be the one filling, and he is totally out of position, right? Now, I show this because later on in the game, we get Quinshon Judkins' long touchdown, right? Long 70-yard run. It is the exact same concept. It is from a different look, different formation. We've got Agbuka in the game instead of Brandon Ennis. He gets caught from behind just at the 5. But again, watch what we see here. We're going to get Agbuka coming in. He's going to come across. You're going to watch. Number 1 is following him. They're in man coverage this time. We talked a lot about the man coverage from a pass perspective, and we will definitely talk about that. But it makes an impact in the run game because he's actually pulling the corner who's got him in man coverage. But this is also training the Irish linebackers. They make what's called a fall call, where they're going to move over. We've added a gap to the opposite side of the field. They're going to follow that gap. What happens then is it allows Hinsman to climb and get to this next level. It allows Luke Montgomery to climb. We've got a great job from Shabola here to close out. Watch this again in slow motion, right? We're going to get Hinsman knocks off, helps Shabola, and then he climbs and seals inside this linebacker. Because of this motion, Montgomery's able to get to this linebacker, and it's a designed cutback. Now, he's taking the misdirection. Watch his step again. It's this, right? But when he gets up there, he immediately sees great vision from Quinshon Judkins to get upfield that way. So identical to the run we saw from Trevion Henderson just before. This idea of using your wide receiver in split action to kind of pull the defense the opposite way away from the run to remove a run defender and mess with the run defense. Chip Kelly, he's used that a ton going back. You can watch him do this with the Eagles when he was the head coach there. So this is a Chip Kelly classic coming out at the biggest time. All right, now the other big story from the Ohio State run game was, of course, the use of Will Howard's legs. We already talked about Riley Leonard and the quarterback designed run game from Notre Dame. That was a huge part of the night for Ohio State as well. Both coaches, both staffs feeling as though they can, use up all the carries left in their quarterback's legs. You're not saving them for anything. And a very similar approach, to be honest with you. Whereas the Irish were using designed quarterback counter, which would have been the backside guard and the back leading this way. This is just power, which means we've already got 3 guys to the play side. You're going to get a kick back out here from the back and a pull seal from the guard, right? They're really kind of changing places. So watch what happens here. We get Quinshon Judkins on 15, and you're going to see Sarahville in this instance coming around on the linebacker. Offensive line is just down blocking trying to get in and create this lane, this designed run, lane for Will Howard, right? Now you get a read stunt from the defensive line. Now he's able to see, he can tell it's a pull 56, so he's going to try to beat this around. He can see this out of the corner of his eye, and he's trying to meet this pulling guard here, which he does a pretty good job. But Kaczmarek does a nice job of recognizing it, getting off of his man and sealing it, and then Howard has the vision to recognize the gap's going to be there, not here, and you get that nice cutback lane, which allowed Will on numerous occasions to pick up first downs with his feet. You know, Howard had a great game. We're going to talk about him a lot, as I said. But, you know, 18 of 21 Ohio State first downs were because of Will Howard. Now, there might not have been a bigger one on that, but, you know, setting up what would be the final Buckeye drive leading to the game sealing field goal before the Jeremiah Smith pass, which we'll talk about. We also had this exact same concept coming out. So, again, they saw it work earlier in the drive or in the game, and Ohio State wasn't hesitant to press that button, especially late in the second half when they needed to just keep the clock moving. They needed to get positive yardage. Will Howard's strength and size. It's the same concept we just saw here, right? We're going to have Judkins kick out the end, getting the guard pull around, down block, down block, down block. Notre Dame, really, they've seen it a few times, and look how aggressively the linebackers play this. They've seen this now a few times, and because of how aggressively you can see 27 and 34 play this, they're coming down. That leaves this huge cutback angle, and credit to Howard for recognizing that, using his athleticism to get around the edge. You know, he stays in bounds, moves the chains, keeps everything moving. So quarterback power, you know, we've been waiting all year for it to be a big part of the game outside of just short yardage and red zone, where it was, you know, important. This looked a lot like that Kansas State run game that Will ran for so many years. One of the first things I did, you know, in the offseason last year was talk about the use of QB power. So just ironic to see it coming full circle, really tapping into his Kansas State experience and really what his capabilities are beyond just the passing game. All right, now one of the most talked about plays from this game, talked about even beforehand, probably the one schematic thing most people know. Ohio State running, you know, what they call corn dog, which is a play the Chiefs have run successfully multiple times in Super Bowls under Andy Reid, but more famously, it's a play that Alabama ran with Devontae Smith in the 2020 championship game. So watching it come full circle again, of course, a lot of people picked up on this in the moment, but there's one piece I want to call out because, yeah, we're going to get Jeremiah Smith on this little comeback route here, right? And Notre Dame's playing man coverage. Now, I want you to watch pre-snap because watch Egbuka and Jeremiah Smith, right? You can see them while G. Scott's doing this motion to kind of give an indicator and kind of mess with the defense's eyes. You can see Egbuka and Jeremiah Smith, and you see Jeremiah Smith change his feet. Now, if you watch, in every snap, Ohio State, they're trained where they want the inside leg forward on all their routes. And I think that's something Notre Dame knew going into it. And when you can see, all he does is he just changes his feet. And then watch, Christian Gray is losing his mind because he can tell, wait, he's changing his feet. He's doing something wrong, right? They're changing something. They're doing something. Guys, everybody look. They're doing something, right? And so when the play comes and he starts to go in motion like that, you can see Christian Gray, the corner, is racing. He's saying, hey, this is an end around. You guys, I told you so. Look at this. We get the linebacker here. They are cooking. They're trying to get over on top. And that is just enough. I mean, here's Christian Gray right here. They've got Egbuka kind of trailing, you know, you can see everybody going that way. There's nobody left to throw this ball, right? There's nobody home when Jeremiah Smith catches this ball. Jeremiah Smith said after the game, I believe it was to Richard Johnson from Split Zone Duo, CBS, he was like, yeah, I just did that with my feet to mess with him. And he did. It worked. You know, if he lines up this way and doesn't do anything, doesn't make any noise, what you probably have instead is this corner. He's kind of sitting there flat, waiting to see what happens. Maybe he's not as aggressive, and that allows him to actually be closer to the play when it happens. But instead, he's so hyper aggressive, and he's going to try to get over the top, which put him actually out of position. So these are the little things, you know, let's watch it one more time. These are the little things that can make a difference, especially this late in the season when everybody's prepared and they've over-prepared. What is the mix-up? What is the little change-up? These are the things that can make a difference. Ohio State had just enough of them in the bag for the final game of the season. All right, I talked about Will Howard's legs as a designed runner. Now, I'm going to spend a lot of time talking about Will from here on out because I thought he was just incredible in this game. His best as a Buckeye in many ways. This is the touchdown pass to Quinshon Judkins. He can buy time with his legs. You know, he steps up in the pocket. You know, there's nothing there initially. It's really a man beater that they're expecting the Irish to run man coverage, and it's actually a mix. It's a hybrid coverage where Notre Dame's doing a really good job where they're actually manned up on the receivers here. Got one, got two, got three, got somebody on G. Scott here, right? So there's 4 guys on this. And then what they're going to do they're only going to blitz 3. They're only going to bring 3 guys on pressure. We get these 3 guys here, 2, 3, and then everybody else. So that means 4 guys are in man coverage, 4 guys are rushing. They're going to have a mixture. It's a special goal line defense where we've got 4 kind of spy zone droppers. They're there to pick up any crossing routes. They're going to try to take away mesh. They're going to try to take away anything that hits quickly over the middle, as well as make sure that if Will Howard takes off to run, we've already shown he's a run threat. They're there to take care of that. So it's a really good short yardage goal line defense. Now, as soon as Will steps up, we get this pressure around the edge. Fryer just kind of runs him deep around the pocket, but Will steps up, and it's good coverage. There's nobody open initially, right? 2, 3. I mean, you could maybe make an argument, but that's not going to get you anything that you need as your Ohio State. So the receivers are well covered. Even initially, Quinshon Judkins is picked up by this zone-dropping linebacker. But, as Will steps up, all 4 of these guys collapse on him. They're so worried about him running. And what does he end up doing? He recognizes and he feels his running back escaping past. He recognizes that these guys have now abandoned their coverage. So he does a good job, stays behind the line of scrimmage, and throws off kilter. This is a baseball throw. You hear this a lot off platform. He's thrown back across his body and puts that right there for his running back to catch, who's wide open in the middle of the end zone. So Notre Dame, again, on both sides of the ball, they brought a lot of different concepts. They didn't just play straight cover one, man free. They had some different tricks in their bag that still played into their strengths of being a man-heavy team. But Will Howard really just brought his absolute A-plus game here, and that was a huge difference. All right, let's watch another great throw from Will Howard here. We get tight end motioning across. We're going to get zone coverage this time. Again, big topic of man versus zone. Notre Dame tried to play a lot of zone early on, and Will Howard was able to not only diagnose it, but find some areas to throw the ball. Again, he's going to get the tight end coming across, and you don't see much movement from the secondary, which signals him this is probably zone. And then watch this throw. He's rolling to his left and throws a dart. Just puts it right on Egbuka, puts it past the linebacker in coverage. Now, this is, again, I want to show you the coverage that they're running here because it's quarters. It's basic cover 4. Ohio State's run this a lot, where you're going to get the safety, you're going to get the corner. That's going to take away Tate here. You got Smith on a big backside, post here, and you're going to see the safety there be there to take it away. So your 2 deep routes right away are taken away. Will's not looking to that right side. He got the zone look before. There's nothing here to his big play guy, but his first read is also to Tate anyway, also taken away. And instead, we get his foot race. Look where, Egbuka's going to come all the way across, and they think, I'm pretty confident Ohio State was thinking they could pick on the Notre Dame linebackers in coverage, which we see here, because they are betting that if they give Will enough time, Egbuka's going to get across his face. Will times it up perfectly with his footwork. This is not an easy throw, but he gets his shoulder back. That's really important. Flips his hips so his shoulders are square, and then he throws it on the line. Great play by Will Howard. Really just recognizing what the defense is doing. This is not what Notre Dame's strength was going into the game, which is why we're going to see a little bit more cover 1 from here on out. All right, now so much of the discussion was about Notre Dame playing man-free, that cover 1 against Jeremiah Smith. But I wanted to show early on what that left and what that meant for the rest of the team, because you can see in this play, it's a play action. Everyone had been waiting for it. Take your shot to Jeremiah. Take your shot. The shot to Jeremiah is taken away, and then it still leads to a beautiful throw on this crossing route. Now, you're going to see man free, which means you've got your free safety here, but look how shaded over he is. He's outside the hashes to Jeremiah Smith's side, so that when Jeremiah takes off, you've got this corner and you've got the free safety. They're essentially just bracketing him. But that means that the other receivers on the play are not available. They're not getting any help. So we get this play action. You can see the linebackers. They come down. The safety Xavier Watts, right? We got a little jam here on the outside, and then we're going to see that jam from Emeka Egbuka is what allows Carnell Tate to get over on this deep over route. And it's a 3-level play, right? You've got your first option, which is Jeremiah Smith on like a go post route. But then behind it, you're going to get underneath the jam, Carnell Tate, and then you got a shallow from Egbuka, right? Will Howard, he can see it. He sees, all right, I've got nothing here. Yes, you can, people argue you got to throw that up, but you can't throw that in a double coverage, especially because he sees Carnell Tate coming across. Now, what I think was great about this, we're actually going to get a zone dropper. We showed Jack Sawyer doing this, dropping into a zone while they blitz a linebacker. You're going to see 44 here, the weak side end for Notre Dame, do the exact same thing. He's dropping into a spy roll, kind of a rat. He senses it and gets off of the coverage. Again, he's there to contain Howard as a runner, but Howard does a great job just throwing it right over his outstretched hand, just an absolute dime here. If you watch from the end zone view, it's a little bit easier to see there. Watch this ball just go right over 44's head as it, drops in. Just coming right through where my head is on the screen, but just goes right over his outstretched arm, hits Carnell Tate right in stride. So, Will Howard was absolutely feeling it as a passer. We know that. He completed his first 13 passes, but, just some of these throws, people wish they might have been deep balls to Smith, but Will was absolutely making the right read and throwing with absolute touch and accuracy. We're going to end this season's film study reviews the way most fans will, remember this season ending for the Buckeyes, and that is the huge catch on 3rd and long with the clock running down, up 1 score, throwing the deep ball in man coverage to Jeremiah Smith. It's the thing everyone talked about for a week and a half ad nauseum. We talked about it here. You get one-on-ones with Jeremiah Smith. We saw it throughout the playoffs. This is the play everyone's going to remember. And let's talk about what's happening here because, again, Ohio State's trying to run off the clock. They're trying to keep things moving. Notre Dame has to get a stop here. They cannot let the Buckeyes just get another run play. But if they get a stop, it's 3rd and long, they're getting the ball back. And so that's why you're going to see pressure. You're going to see the linebackers coming, right? We get a 5-man look here. They switch where they got the inside linebacker playing on the edge. We got a stand-up end, and you're going to get the linebacker blitzing. They're bringing pressure here, right? And then they're going to man up on the outside. They got corner and man. We got the tight end with the receiver, with the safety on him. We've got man here on the slot, and we've, of course, got man all the way out here. Now, I want to pay attention to where the ball is on the field. Now, if you watched the Texas review last week, you'll recall me making some comments about where the ball is placed on the field, recognizing the hashes and things like that. This is a great execution of what Ohio State does, or how Jeremiah Smith uses the hashes, because it's a 9-8-9 concept. This is Eric Coryell, Don Coryell. If you watched the Cowboys in the early 90s with Norv Turner, who was a Coryell disciple, they ran the heck out of this play. And then probably recently, the people we remember running this, the LSU Joe Burrow team with Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson ran the heck out of this play. And all it is, it's 9-8-9, so it's the numbers. It's a 9 route, it's a go route, it's a 9 route, and it's an 8 route, which is a post or a dig over the middle, right? Depending on the coverage, you can get a post or a dig. That's it, guys. That's it on paper. If I drew the play up for you, drew it on a whiteboard, it would look just like this. And all you're trying to do is read the safety. Typically, you're reading, the leverage of the safety on the middle route, or you're going to get this in the cornerback playing inside. And so what we get, and this is a great route by Jeremiah Smith, because he's going to press towards the hash mark so that he can get room to run a fade ball back outside. Watch the way he kind of runs. He runs right towards the hashes, right? And that forces the corner to kind of flip his hips. He thinks this is a big deep over route like that, right? And instead, what he gets is Smith then turns around, right? So he's leaning this way. He's leaning back this way. And then Smith is going to plant and run outside. And now he's got all this room towards the sideline. Not only is he even with the corner, but now he's got all that space that allows Will Howard to throw the ball all the way towards the sideline, right? Meanwhile, in the middle of the field, you're not getting any safety help. 1, because this safety thinks it might be a run play, so he's coming down. But 2, he's got to take Emeka Egbuka on this over route. And so that means this is truly just one-on-one, and we get a beautiful ball. Will Howard, again, player of the game for a reason, just drops this thing in a bucket. Let's watch it from the end zone view here, right? We can see, just look at all the space that there is between Jeremiah Smith and the corner, and then Jeremiah Smith and the sideline here. There's so much space, and that's because of the route he ran. He catches this ball with 5 yards towards the end or towards the sideline. That's a huge target you're giving your quarterback. Obviously a great throw, but the route makes such a difference. Seals the game for Ohio State, and they come away national champions. All right, so much to get into in that game. A lot more fun to break down than I think I initially anticipated. Especially when we were looking at things in the middle of the third quarter. I thought this one would be mostly talking about what happened in the first and second, but credit to the Irish and credit to Marcus Freeman's program for bringing enough to the table, both effort-wise, but also schematically. Both teams clearly did their homework, as hopefully you were able to take away. Certainly that was what I thought going into this. But the Buckeyes, of course, did have more talent, as was the case throughout the season. So it's been a great year. I want to thank everybody for watching all season long. This was, like I said, our 16th game review. We also had a few others mixed in throughout the season. So want to thank everybody for watching. Make sure you follow 11 Warriors from moving forward here on YouTube. There will be more film study content, obviously a little bit less consistent than what we had during the regular season, as there's less film to review, but we've got some interesting things lined up during the off season, especially, probably around spring ball. And then as we head back into camp this summer, you never know what kind of changes can happen personnel wise, coaching staff wise. If those are there, you can always rely on me to break down what those changes mean schematically. But want to thank you all as we move to this kind of new mode of delivering film studies this year, moving from written to more video based. So I know most of you liked it. To those who never got used to it, apologies. We might always return to more written stuff as the season, especially in the off season. But want to thank you all again for watching. Hope it's been a great year. Hope you've enjoyed as much as I have.